The greatest racers with the most powerful machines gather in Key West, Florida for the Superboat World Championships. Hello everybody, I'm Art Ekman, and working with us is Liz Hewlett and the always excitable Jim Hendrick. And Jim, a lot of reason to get excited now because these exotic, powerful machines are ready to go.
And we have so many classes, you got to have to keep up with it. We have about 8 superboats, and I remember the days that only 2 or 3 would show up. There's 8 of them. We have a dozen in the open class, and with the modified Pro 1, stock, and the production classes, we have a total of 20 more, so about 40 boats.
Liz, it's truly a world championship, and walking through the pits, it's quite an experience.
I was amazed. I mean, I was surprised at what I was hearing walking through the pit area. You'd almost have to be a linguist to know what's going on.
Make sure all the hatches and everything are locked down. All the catches are done, okay. And we should be in there for a chance.
Okay, mate. Thanks a lot.
I've had a fabulous time in this city, and you know the racers like coming to Key West not only because the conditions are incredible, but because this is one of the most unique and fun cities to be in. Knowledgeable racing fans from all over the world enjoy Key West, not only for the great racing, but the tremendous energy and fun times.
Also working with us in the catbird seat high above the action in one of our helicopters, Rich Lures. Rich?
Well, Art, as hot as it is out here today, it's going to be hotter on the race course. And based on the speeds we saw Wednesday, it's going to take everything we've got in this helicopter to catch up to these guys today.
Today's race is the second of 2 races to determine our overall world champion. Just a few days ago, our race week opened up with an exciting competition, Jim, but the weather conditions were relatively calm.
Overcast, light wind, calm water, good running for cats and deep fees alike last Wednesday.
And Budweiser came out of the chute first. They ran second until the first lap to recovery. Venus Swimwear, the fastest superboat at 106.6 miles an hour on the opening lap.
And returns to the pits. He's having a problem as we look at In Excess as being passed by the Budweiser. Bud has the speed at this point.
In the P-Boats, high risk with Rick Felson. Couldn't have had a better day. He took the lead on the 3rd lap.
Out in front early, but retiring early is the Budweiser, being towed back to the pits.
Insatiable and Recovery had a great battle until Insatiable missed the first turn and had to go back. They also had an electrical fire.
Apache, Heritage, and In Excess battled right side by side, but In Excess, too fast in the turns on the inside, has the advantage.
They modified their bottom to pick up speed, and they were able to just knife through those corners.
Recovery now taking the lead at the end of lap number 1. Nick Casala, who is driving for the owner of record, driver of record, Stuart Hayham, here today.
It was an amazing all-out 10-lap effort by this machine for a 40-second win. And here's In Excess, not getting drawn up in a race with the open boats in this slick water, just keeping their eyes on the superboat contenders and winning.
How sweet it is, too. Wins the modified. M39 doing a fine job.
High risk with Rick Felson, inspired by their duel with Slick 50, got a 10-second victory.
And the new Ohio Steel in the open class got a lot of attention, but had problems that they'll have to work out in the future.
And as we see John Raven behind the wheel and Hurley Stepp, a great name in offshore racing, do the throttles, here are the results of the first round of the World Championships. Brand new Japanese boat, Quintana. Second to Recovery in the open class. There's a lot of friendship and respect between these crews.
We're very happy with it.
very happy.
What about the friendly rivalry with Joey?
Oh yeah, they're crazy people down there. We're very, very conservative. They're crazy. But, you know, win first place and second place. But we're very happy about it.
What about your strategy for now for Saturday?
Oh, it won't be that easy to beat.
Won't be conservative?
No, we're going to be crazier than them.
Down at the docks with Jim Hendrick is the only man in history to win 2 world championships in the same season, both in unlimiteds and offshore.
Down here at the dock as the boats are ready to go out for the competition today, we're with Bernie Little. Bernie, congratulations, first of all, on another world championship in unlimiteds.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Jim. We were able to accomplish that. We had a good season, won 7 out of 10 with the Miss Budweiser. And now we have the Miss Budweiser here behind us in the Offshore, running for the World Championship, and we hope to bring in a winner there also.
Your whole life has been boats, whether it be race boats or yachts.
Well, that's true. I just left my good friend Robin Bregg's wedding, raced over here because I want to see us come to a victory here today.
All right, now, when you race in offshores or unlimiteds, what is the difference?
Well, there's a big difference, Jim. In offshores, you're out there fighting 8, 10-foot seas or 6-foot, whatever it is. And in the unlimiteds, it's awful smooth race course. So here, you really have to watch it from helicopters. And, of course, that's my life also. So speed is fun, and that's why we're here.
All right, you're going to head for your helicopter now and watch this one.
That's where I'm going, Jim.
Be careful.
Thank you.
And all the boats are getting ready now for the second competition in this World Championship. Will In Excess and Recovery hold on to their leads after the first round of competition? There's Trace Martin. We'll be back in a moment.
Racing. It's a matter of attrition. It's a matter of keeping your body parts where they're supposed to be and keeping the boat from cracking in half and sinking.
A lot of pressure on the boss of Recovery. He's in the boat for the first time after missing round number 1. How about that?
Well, business comes first. There won't be a boat without business. No pressure. I think it's real nice to have a first place on Wednesday. It makes it a bit easier here today. On the other hand, the guys in the boat are teasing me. I sure can't do any better than they did Wednesday, and if I hiccup or do something wrong, I'll do a little bit worse. It's a little bit grumpy out there, nothing terrible at all. It ought to be a real nice, fun ride.
Here's the Evolution Marine Pace Boat as they lead the Super and Open class boats out onto the race course.
From up in our helicopter, our cameras look down at the smoothest part of this race course, 14.7 miles per lap. Little water taken on by In Excess. Our inboard camera shows that. They're jockeying for lanes, and this is a very important start for the Supers and the Opens, Art.
The start very exciting, but it's who can last the longest at these great speeds that is the important factor. Budweiser once again takes the lead for the second round in a row. They've had some good power starts. The 40-foot skater with 850 horsepower engines, 2 of them, and Jeff Sofer and Clark Berger along with Ugo Colombo in that crew.
Here we have 3 boats, Endangered Species, which is open, a couple of super boats. You can see Venus Swimwear and the Apache Heritage. They're going to give battle, but they still see the wake of the Budweiser as they come out to open sea from in the cove. Endangered Species, their 5th race. They won a big one in Galveston this year. As we look at the Budweiser with a big lead, you want to be the rabbit? You want to be the tortoise? What do you want to be? Got to set the pace. Be careful. You can stretch your equipment as we look at the rest of the pack. US 1 Labatt's winning the national championship this year, a 40-foot Apache, along with Shooter's Waterfront Cafe. The 35-foot Jaguar been running very well, had a competitive run the first outing, but Apache Heritage is really steaming forward. He seems to have things pretty much his own way, but look from the right of your screen, coming up the challenge as they come past checkpoint 1 is the In Excess, and these two are going to lock up in a battle. Oh, this is going to be a great battle. It's going to be interesting to see the power on the straightaways of Apache Heritage you see off to the right and the onboard camera on In Excess. In Excess picking up time on the turns, but Apache Heritage showing the power. And speaking of turns right here, Budweiser hitting the first checkpoint. And Art, he's going to be challenged by both the In Excess on the right and the Apache Heritage on the left. In Excess makes it a tight turn. Apache Heritage goes way outside, Budweiser in the middle. Can he hold the lead?
That was a great example of the construction of the boat, just making a better turn, a sharper turn of it in excess of the V-bottom, with Apache Heritage now putting out some power on the outside. Budweiser losing the lead on this back stretch. It's a lot rougher water back there, and the two superboats are now taking over. There you see the power plant action of Apache Heritage, but In Excess has done a great job in grabbing the lead, cutting the corner a little quicker. Whoa, they're going right out of the water.
They have to be quick on those throttles right now. You see Budweiser's dropped back to third. As we sweep, we go to second place is Apache Heritage, and way out in front now, In Excess, as we look inside the cockpit of the lead boat.
Ted Savarese is the driver and owner, along with the crew chief throttle man Trace Martin, a veteran.
Again, there's Apache Heritage right now on the outside, knifing through the water, the roughest part of the course between checkpoint 1 and 2, and he's going to challenge In Excess right here.
Oh, this is a great race. In Excess had a pretty conservative throttle in the first race for this World Championship, but in the second race, they look like they're out there setting the pace.
Whoa, look at him hit those waves and launch off. Lots of water. As we said, this is the roughest part of the course.
You notice the canopy. I can remember the days that they didn't have a canopy, and Ted Savarese was telling me it's like driving in a convertible and standing up and then going over to the side of the road and taking the rocks in the face when you don't have a canopy. They've got it now, though, and it's a strong structure.
Look at the way the boat is riding now. They have to stretch out those outdrives. They have to come off those waves. Throttle man has to be fast. And on the right side, the In Excess, this fountain boat, can feel the pressure of Apache Heritage coming up on his right side.
Apache Heritage, a 47-foot Apache with three 1,000 horsepower Mercury engines. The owner, Patrick Mercurio, and Omar Danielle out of Monaco is the driver with the veteran Richie Powers on the throttles.
Here in lap 1, this is the battle for superboat supremacy. Back in third slot overall, but leading in class, open class, is the Budweiser. As we come down to checkpoint number 2, look at the challenge of Apache Heritage and In Excess.
Well, this is one of the favorite courses of Apache Heritage. He ran very well here last year, winning the V-bottom class at that time. They also set a speed record for V-bottoms this year, 126.382 miles an hour, surpassing a great Tom Gentry record.
Art, they're really racing side by side, getting dangerously close as we look from the inboard camera on In Excess to his challenger, and a slight lead by Apache Heritage. They're really coming off those waves, Art.
It'll be interesting, too, to see how long these complicated multi-engine boats can keep this type of pace.
They have all winter to repair. Get ready for next year as we look out the window of In Excess, looking at, whoa, a nice chine there by the Deep V Hull, Apache Heritage, as we come close now to the turn at checkpoint 2, and these boats are still pretty close together.
Oh, this is terrific superboat competition. It's usually considered a fine superboat tight race if you're a minute ahead of the other opponent.
They're leaping a good 50, 60 feet out of the water before they come back down as they go into the turn now. Apache Heritage don't go as wide as he did on turn number 1, and whoa!
He hooked it. In Excess hooked it just a little bit too much. They're still up and running, though, and they'll get back into the race.
Now the course starts to get smoother, Art, which means that the hooking of In Excess is a big advantage to Apache Heritage. They're on the smooth spot of the course as we look at a replay from inside the cockpit of In Excess. We'll be back with more action from Key West, Florida after this timeout.
Welcome back to the Pierre Cardin Key West World Championships. Superboat action, Jim Hendrick.
Yes, and it's the number 50 boat, the Apache Heritage, lap number 1, 92 miles an hour. Going by the Ocean Key House, and here is In Excess, second in Superboats, but making up the distance, 1.4 miles off the pace, averaging 90.6. Liz Hewlett, Budweiser is still in the running.
Well, after another great start, Budweiser, leading the open class, averaged 87.4 miles per hour, which was remarkable in rough seas like this. But now they face a really tough duel with recovery.
Apache Heritage, second race in a row that they've had a great battle with In Excess. In Excess winning the first round, of course. Now, should Apache Heritage take the second round and In Excess place second, it would go to the average speed that would determine the world champion.
Here's the recovery. Second place in open class, second to Bud, but still leading the Katana, which is what their strategy is. They must lead this boat, the Katana, throughout this entire race based on taking the first last Wednesday. Stay ahead of the Katana, you'll win the World Championships.
On board the Katana, not finding the chop accommodating right now in this second round. They're having a little bit of trouble. Bobby Moore on the throttles, and the Japanese driver, Kimitoshi Hosatana. They do not speak each other's languages, so you can imagine the cooperation it must take to get through a turn like this, Jim.
Fine camera work on board the Katana, number 3 in the open class, as he goes back out now to complete lap number 1 and go back out to open seas.
Here comes number 60, Warlock, the old Team USA boat driven by Don Johnson. Remember that, Jim? He had Kurt Russell as a navigator, and they had that top speed in New York and the Hudson River of 127 miles an hour a few years ago.
Yes, and that was a record that still stands today as we look at the Venus Swimwear as they come down now to complete lap number 1 of 10 laps.
Venus Swimwear not getting the speed they wanted, and that's the case for US 1 Labatt's. Bad luck, really, for Studeville and Leibel, subpar 2 laps, and they're having their problems. Endangered species, though, it's a totally different
boat, was about to be passed by a superboat from Argentina, La Nueva. Whips past them as they go out to open sea to start lap number 2. Meanwhile, the Pro Stock class, the 650 at Talon Hall, is coming on strong to complete lap number 1, currently in second place behind the Stealth Offshore racing team. As we look at all the fleet, look at this is the roughest part of the course, guys. Hang on.
There you see in the lower right, Katana. Hosatani behind the wheel, a 3-year Japanese champion. Working at the throttles, Bobby Moore. You can't get a sense of speed from this shot, but you certainly can feel the pounding that these guys are taking on the backside of the course. I'll never forget when Bobby Moore broke Ike Batista in the Spirit of the Amazon in at Lake Michigan in some of the worst conditions I've ever seen. So if you're going to have a great throttle man to break you in, well, Hosatani has got to be thankful it's Bobby Moore.
Yes, he's a veteran throttle man. He knows how to handle those gas sticks. Watch endangered species. Flies out of the water. Oh, hang on, guys. This, of course, is where they really earn their title as offshore racers.
It's a good thing the wave wasn't bigger when they came down. They could stuff it very easily on a move like that.
Here's the Budweiser still leading in the open class as they extend their stern drives, heading toward checkpoint 1, and the water will get worse as they head for checkpoint 2. Meanwhile, our leader in the superboat class is still the Apache Heritage, and they're riding pretty good, wouldn't you say, Art?
Oh, they're trimmed out beautifully. Richie Powers with a little gleam in his eye and a smile on his lips when I asked him about today's race. Very confident this team could put it all together and possibly win the World Championship. You see, In Excess, their competition, up to the far right. We'll be back with more action in a moment. Back to superboat racing at its best. Apache Heritage looking unbeatable right now, making it look so easy in the rough parts and flying over the slick water, forcing In Excess not to be conservative and equipment saving that they would like as we watch out their boat.
When you're in second place like this boat, In Excess, you must continue to press the leader. You can see the leader going through the turns at the top of your screen. That's the boat right there to beat, which is Apache Heritage. We're inside the In Excess once again. And he's taking on water. That white water that you see on the right side of this boat is that of the leader, Apache Heritage, as he goes out to open seas to start another lap. Boy, that boat for a big boat sure is riding smooth today, Art.
It really is, and they've been able to afford dropping their speeds down a bit since they're not quite challenged as heavily as earlier. Now, Budweiser has turned the fastest lap in their duel with Recovery, but Recovery just hanging right with them.
Recovery, of course, has to just stay ahead of the Katana to win the World Championships in class as we look at the second place superboat, In Excess, going into rougher water as we speak. Here comes Kimitashi Hosatani, which is that Japanese entry, a 40-foot skidder. Something interesting about the throttle men.
That's right. The Recovery, the boat they're trying to catch, is being throttled by Joey Imprescia. Joey throttled this boat campaigning in Japan. Warlock sounding a little bit rough. It's been in the garage for 2 seasons after running here the last run at Key West back in 1990.
The offshore racers really like to race here, and look at this.
Conch-Attack, a super stock boat, broke down in the first round. Not very competitive in this one, but look at the bouncing that these small boats take.
Whoa, they can cover some ground, and they have to be very, very careful as whipping by is the shooter.
Waterfront Cafe, throttled by the veteran noted for speed, Rick Conti.
Venus Swimwear comes up next.
Richie Sapula is behind the wheel. He was hoping just to stay with the V's and let them battle it out and hoping for good position on laps 7 to 9 and then make a move, but he's having power problems right now. La Nueva Argentina, far from the early speeds of In Excess or Apache Heritage, but they're hanging in there, Jim.
Everybody has fun at Key West. There's something for everyone. And our Liz Hewlett, well, she's no exception.
Here it is, the southernmost point in the United States. This is as far as you can go. Key West, Florida. If you want to kick back and relax, this is the place to be.
Well, sounds like you had fun, Liz. Where'd you go first?
Well, we started at the Art Center, and I got a chance to see some of what the talented local artists are doing.
This is different art, that's for sure.
Well, there's something for everybody to appreciate.
Did you get a chance to see some of the places where some of the famous people are laid to rest?
I did. I'm not sure I'd think that this was really a tourist attraction, but a lot of people seem to enjoy it.
The Lighthouse Museum is a must if you go to Key West.
That's right, and this is Ernest Hemingway's home. You know, they say, Jim, that there are almost 200 cats living on this property.
Beautiful place. And the famous Harry S. Truman Little White House, also a must.
There's certainly a lot of ways to get around and see Key West. This is one of a lot of people's favorites, and a lot of people enjoy bicycling.
And the famous conch train. Didn't you kind of tool around a little bit?
My favorite, the scooter. Let's go.
Well, while you were pedaling on your little scooter around Key West, what else did you see, Miss Liz?
Well, Jim, I certainly had a lot of fun. You know, there are so many little shops to go through, and I really enjoyed just sitting around and talking to some of the local people.
There is lots to see. Sidewalk cafes, and whoa, look at that. A hammerhead shark. What else did you do?
Well, look, the most fun I had was driving the Evolution Pace boat.
Is that really you?
That's really me.
Oh my gosh, fun that we had for all at Key West.
This is the best way to see Key West.
Beauty indeed. And the fans saw the back of your head, Liz, driving that boat. I was in the boat when she drove it, fans, 90 miles an hour. Right now, the leader of the Superboat division, Apache Heritage, looking flawless, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Welcome back to the World Championships here in Key West, Florida. Let's go for a report now from Rich Lures up in the helicopter.
Well, it appears that Budweiser has had some problems. Hugo holding the hatch up. Jeff is frantically moving around trying to make something right in there. But at the moment, they are just flat dead in the water. And with the way recovery has been running, the kind of time that they've lost already will probably mean the race. Don't drop the hatch, Jeff.
That'd be a great way to end the day, wouldn't it? But it clears the way for recovery in the open class. Here's Apache Heritage. Big lead in the Superboat class right now. As In Excess, we take a look from the boat, is having their problems. They dropped the drive at about the 4th lap and slowed them down considerably. They still have a pretty good trim, Jim.
Well, this is your leader in the Superboat class once again. Apache Heritage having things pretty much his own way so far today as we go back inside the cockpit of In Excess, coming towards the pier house. And it seems that the boat is going to be slowing down. Here is a bird's eye view of a problem that this crew has. Yes, they are slowing down. The engines are dying.
Well, they've been going without an engine for some time and just trying to keep the points and stay in competition for the world title after winning the first round. But oh, what an eerie sound is no sound.
Yeah. Listen to the discussion in the cockpit. You know for sure as competitors are going to try to get it started again as we go back to Apache Heritage, the leader in Superboat class.
La Nueva Argentina now moves into second place with the breakdown of In Excess. Second in Superboats anyway. They're just remaining persistent, but Apache Heritage still shows the power they've seen the entire race.
They're trying to start. Let's listen.
Trace Martin, you can tell, must have worked feverishly to get this boat working again. Ted and Rick Savarese, along with Trace, the mechanic and crew chief.
I think they're only on one engine, Art.
It certainly sounds like it. It'll be interesting to see if they try to finish the race on the water or just bring it in. Great competitors, and I know they've got to be very frustrated at this moment.
We're not going fast, but we can't tell you what's wrong yet. Right now, we're looking at the In Excess from the outside. They're trying to pick up some speed, but they don't have all the cylinders going at the same time, to be sure.
One production boat that's on all cylinders, Jim, is Slick 50. They've taken advantage of the attrition of High Risk and Stealth, and P69. They're dominating the entire race as far as production is concerned.
They're riding pretty smooth at this point in time, going by some of the spectator fleets. Right now, high in the helicopter above our course, as he has been all day long, is Rich Lures.
Recovery has pulled himself over a half-lap lead now over Budweiser as Budweiser lays dead in the water. So I guess today for Stu Aham and Joe Impressia, this Bud is for you. And all they've got to do now is play out the string, negotiate 5 more successful laps at an easy pace. They've got themselves their 2nd consecutive World Championship. Last year in Superboat Cat, this year in Open Class.
We're at the starting line on top of the pier house, and Art has a special guest. Art?
Joining us at our broadcast location, Fred Hansen of the Pier House. We are standing on the Pier House property right now. What a
races does for us what a lot of things don't do. It fills the town. It's great for Key West. It's great for the hotels. The boat race people do a super job. They put on a great show, and everybody here is having a great time.
And every year during the World Championships, it's festival time for the locals and all the visitors that funnel down to Key West. And all the hotels, why, they join together in one big host effort all during race week. Key West can accommodate sunbathe, exercise. Doesn't matter, they've got it all. Want to cool down? Get a rub down. Want to swim? We've got it. Everything is at Key West, and at nighttime, it's Duval Street.
Back on the water, trouble for Venus Swimwear. This craft going 106.6 miles an hour in the first race, but has broken down here in the second race. Rich Lures.
It looks like the Venus swimwear is out for the count. That they've lost, looks like the power on one side of the boat. After running very, very well there, they're putting their relaxation hats on, and they're going to call it a day.
Thank you, Rich. This is Liz Hewlett with Art Ekman and Jim Hendrick from the Pierre Cardin Key West World Championships. More in a moment.
Back in Key West, Florida, it's Apache Heritage leading the superboats with a big lead. You know, the rough water, Jim, has taken its toll on almost every other craft, but Apache Heritage just seems like this is their kind of style.
And I'll tell you what, look at Lauren Leibel. His boat, Labatt's Jenny, would draft out of the race. For a bird's eye report, let's go up to Rich Lures.
Yeah, Jim, there's tremendous attrition out here today. Labatt's is now down, the Budweiser is down, the Venus swimwear is down, and we're about halfway through the race, but as you can see, the seas are just wicked out here. It's the roughest part of the course, and that's where they seem to be breaking.
All right, Rich, thank you very much.
Jim, here's a new boat owned by Dennis Kaiser. This is the shakedown cruise for the boat. Wednesday it had transmission problems, but if the rumors in the pits are true, it'll be a strong contender next year.
This is the first time we've seen the 45 skater, and they did rush to get it to this race. They've been testing it and working on it all week, and they definitely have some more bugs to iron out. But it is a big, sturdy boat, and one that has a very bright future.
In open class, number 37, Endangered Species. Pure determination as they're headed for a third-place finish, throttled by Errol Lanier, the owner-driver Clay Wilson. They've done a nice job of just sticking with it as other boats have dropped out. Number 5, La Nueva Argentina, piloted by Daniele Scioli. World champion lost his right arm in a devastating crash, but came back to the sport he loves. He's got an Italian crew, raced one other time in Key West.
Cuando yo te vuelva a ver, no habrá más pena ni olvido.
Art, this is a story of courage. Daniele Scioli, world-class racer and folk hero in his country, lost his arm in a tragic accident. The happiest day in Danielle's life was the day before the accident, when the president of Argentina rode with Danielle to victory in the first stage of the race. The next day, with the president on the shore, Danielle's boat crashed. He fought through the darkness of death to survive. Later, the president asked if there was anything he could do for him. Danielle's reply was simply to raise his boat so he could race again. 6 months later, he won his first race. He's won many races since and has proven to be a true champion.
The power that's been shown by Apache Heritage has just been phenomenal. They have 3 engines in that boat, but each engine is the equal of 3 Corvette engines in horsepower. There they go right now. Richie Powers is the well-known throttle man of that boat, and we caught up with him yesterday in the dry pits. He was right in the middle of that power plant.
These engines are putting out 1,000 horsepower apiece. They're basically based on a big block Chevrolet supercharged engine. One of these engines would power 2 of the current Winston Cup cars right now. 3 of these motors power 6 of them, so it kind of gives you an idea of exactly the horsepower that we're talking about here. Cost-wise, we're about $60,000 a piece per engine, which includes a stern drive. So you can see by all of these engines, all of this equipment, not only the cost of the boat, but it gets very expensive to run these things.
Still out for a Sunday drive and leading in Superboat class is the Apache Heritage, having things pretty much its own way here today. Meanwhile, Rich Lurs in the high risk has been down and waiting for some time. Let's go to Rich Lurs in Chopper 1 for a report on Rick Felsen and his team.
Another example in the pro stock class, Rick Felsen in the high risk, sitting there as his crew chief works feverishly trying to effect the repair as quickly as possible. But things look so promising after his first place victory on Wednesday, all to come to this on Saturday.
And taking advantage of the demise of Rick Felsen and his team is the Slick 50.
Charlie Himes and Chip Fent, boy, they've done a nice job. They came in second place in the first round of the World Championships, and Rick Felsen is just seeing his title slip away to Slick 50. Good position for the title right now should they hold together. This guy was so relaxed. Charlie spent much of his time between races smiling and signing autographs for all the fans that came by.
We've just received word that NXS is once again out of action. When we come back, we'll have a full report.
Welcome back to the Pierre Cardin Key West World Championships. Our onboard camera, onboard NXS, isn't going very fast.
No, he's not. In fact, they're heading back to the dock. They've had a fine day, a lot of racing, but as Trace Martin just shrugs his shoulder, he knows this is all part of the game. Here's where they lost it. NXS challenging for the lead at checkpoint 2, comes in, tries to make a tight turn, hooks the boat. That gives the advantage to the Apache Heritage, heading for smooth water. He's never been headed since.
A very proud onboard owner, too, of that Apache Heritage is Patrick Mercurio, along with Richie Powers at the throttle. The driver's Omar Danielle. He started his driving career in race cars. He's run the GTU class of the 24 Hours of Daytona.
Well, the main difference between turning a car and a boat, you use the steering in a car to control the spin out of the car in a turn. In a boat, you control the steering of the boat by not letting it roll over in a turn. So you keep it leaning in the turn. The other main difference is that when you race a car, you race it on a street or a track, and you usually know the track very well. Whereas when you take a boat out, there's always this anticipation that the sea is going to be different, and you never know what the conditions are going to be. So you're always reacting in a boat, whereas in a car you're acting because you know exactly what the conditions are going to be.
Physically taxing, yes, but the art of driving is even more mentally draining with those ever-changing seas.
The track always changes, Art, and water, a hole here, a wave here, and you never know. Here's recovery, knowing that perhaps they're going to see the checkered flag and win their second consecutive World Championship. Stuart Hayham, Joey Impressia, and a fine crew in the 27-boat recovery.
In the Super Stocks, having an outstanding race, Lee Aerospace, a 28-foot Douglas skater, James Lee, and Mike Gagliano in the cockpit.
However, the boat that's sitting in the catbird seat is this one right here in second place by virtue of their performance in the first round, and what they're going to do today if they maintain second place. This boat, S39, how sweet it is, will be the world champion in class.
They beat out for the lead of the fastest lap in that first race. Unbelievable, 81.1 miles an hour, and that dominating win in the first race puts them in good stead. Flying Tiger, an unusual crew.
And they're flying with Tina Blizniak and Sonny Hawkins.
This boat holds the kilo record at 118 miles an hour, but on a lot slicker water, that's for sure. They won at Sarasota this year. They are second, unable to really challenge How Sweet It Is Too, and they are ripping.
How Sweet It Is Too, winning in the modifieds here at Key West today. La Nueva, Argentina, not doing too shabby today.
After their battle with Warlock, they've been able to secure a good, steady second place in the superboats behind the very powerful Apache Heritage.
Some of these boats have two-man crews, some three, some four. It all depends on what you want to do. Meanwhile, Katana in the open class is moved up to second place since the Budweiser went out with problems.
Well, it's pretty hard to match recovery speed during this second round, but they've tried, and they're just about 3 minutes behind the leader, Recovery, right now. Katana, a good shot on board, will give you some of the intense pounding that these riders are in for.
Meanwhile, Slick 50, riding very smoothly like a Sunday drive with three engines, and if they can maintain, they'll take the checkered flag, Art.
After a great boat-to-boat battle with Patriot in the first race and taking a second place, they've really taken advantage of the attrition here today. The chairman of the tourist board, a smile on his face, Mayor Feiner, as we talked with him earlier.
The weather today is absolutely gorgeous, just like it normally is in the Florida Keys. And we're happy to have this event and the large crowd that is attending it. I think it's an outstanding place to race for the simple reason we got the best weather in the United States this time of the year for weather in general and boat racing in particular.
Well, Key West has a natural harbor for superboat racing. Boats go by within 50 feet of the dock, making for a spectacular grandstand as the boats come through the harbor. It is the best location for powerboat racing anywhere in the world.
We're on the last leg of the Key West World Championships here as we look down at the Apache Heritage, who's had a very fine day. We'll be heading for the docks to talk to all the winners after this.
We're at the finish of the Pierre Cardin Key West World Championships. Superboat Division, Apache Heritage right there. Will win by almost 6 minutes. A flawless performance. It was disappointing that the great In Excess rivalry didn't really take place toward the end of this race, but Apache Heritage powering to victory, looking as sharp and trim as they did from the very first lap, Jim.
Here comes the winner in open. Stuart Hayham and Joey Impressia, their second straight World Championships, the Recovery. The second place boat in the open class with a fine showing from Japan, the Katana. Now let's go down the docks as Art is with the winning Apache Heritage team.
Well, Patrick, nothing can be finer than a world championship for an owner.
That's fantastic. That's Apache water today was great.
Omar, did you ever have any apprehensions out there on the water? After all, you did have a battle with NXS there for a while.
On the first lap, it was very close. We got to that second turn. NXS was right by us. We took them right there, and from there on, I think we had the upper hand. Next thing I knew, we had 3/4 of a lap over them, and by the time we lapped them, our only worry was to hold back the throttles and keep going. Have the equipment running and not run out of gas.
Oh, Richie, you had a special smile on your face, a twinkle in your eye before this day started. Did you know what's going to happen?
I knew it was going to be rough water, and that was our day. The 47 Apaches with the Mercruiser power, just unbelievable equipment, and I don't think there's anything around that'll ever beat it.
Let's go to Jim Hendrick now. He's with the Open winner.
World champion last year, national and world champion again this year, Stuart Hayham, the recovery team with Joey and Brescia and all that gang. Listen, you told me prior to the race that a lot of pressure on you because you weren't in the boat Wednesday.
Nah, I said I had pressure on me, and here he is. Now, I said to you before the race, the only thing I could do was as good as they did on Wednesday. They set the table on Wednesday. Joey and I finished up today. It was just beautiful out there.
Now, you knew that you could sit second and win this thing.
I don't know the word.
You don't know the word second?
Nah, you know that.
Well, congratulations, Charlie. You know, coming into today's race, High Risk was in the lead. But you were walking around today looking pretty confident and relaxed with a big smile on your face. Now, come on, tell us, were you really that confident?
Oh, yeah, I was scared, let me tell you. Rick Felson did real well the first race. Him and Mike make a great team. You know, they beat us by 10 seconds. But the Slick 50 Talon, we're ready. We worked all day for the past 2 days getting ready for this race, and we were ready. Our crew chief, Ron, and Mike really took care of us, and Chip over here driving, hey, made it to the winner's circle first.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Liz. We appreciate it.
Daniel Scioli on the left, his second appearance in the United States. A good second-place finish in the Superboat competition with La Nueva Argentina.
Now let's take a look at the way they finished in their various classes here in the World Championships, as we had a great spectator fleet on hand today.
All kinds of outstanding duels within all the various classifications. Apache Heritage and Recovery taking the Superboat and Open Class World Championship trophies home with them. And a little sushi for others on the dock. Art Ekman for Liz Hewlett and Jim Hendrick saying thank you so much for being with us.